Redditors who failed to check themselves and promptly wrecked themselves. What happened? Failed to make sure I had enough water in my system before baking under the 95-degree sun for 5 hours painting a house. Almost passed out up the top of a ladder. A friend rushed me to the hospital. Along the way, I vomited and had a seizure. The first seizure I had in my life, and I'm 41. I think I almost died. This was 2 days ago. That's a story for our Tifu. I might have mentioned this on Reddit before, but I once ran into an old friend and addressed him by his twin brother's name. The twin brother had recently died. Accidentally sent a dong pic to my brother. His name is Jesse, Jess for short. My girlfriend at the time's name was Jessica, Jess for short. Pro tip: don't date a girl with the same nickname as your brother. That's just asserting sibling dominance. Set my parents' deck on fire with molten aluminum. Science draws all kinds of haters. I played about 5 seconds of Outkast's 2003 hit Hey You're Out Loud on my phone today in the library while futzing with my headphones. Alright. I almost burnt my house down when my homemade ping pong ball launcher that I decided to shoot indoors for some reason caught fire. I once told my fiancée her butt didn't look big in her jeans. Turns out you're meant to say yes, but sometimes also no. The correct answer is you look amazing. Stabbed myself in the palm with a chisel. Literally thought if this slips it's going to go into my hand. Almost simultaneously. Exactly that happened. Reminds me of making burgers. The rolls were frozen, so would bung them in the oven a bit, then cut them open, then bake into defrost fully. Held bun in one hand, tried to cut it open. Knife slipped straight through and cut my hand open. Quickly wrapped it in a clean towel while waving my arms around to direct my mum to sort out my food, because that was the important bit clearly. Went snowboarding one time. Had to rent gear. The lady at the desk asked if I wanted wrist guards and politely declined. She laughed at me and said, "Don't come crying to me when you break your wrists." Hyperextended my wrist later that day. Another time, I was skating. Didn't check my shoelaces. Tried to do a heel flip. Shoe flies off my foot and almost hits a girl in the face. Fun times. I answered the phone once at a retail store. To amuse myself, I answered the phones using various accents. I do believable Irish, English, Russian, Wisconsin, New York, Appalachian, and Hindi accents. I answered the phone this time with a Hindi accent. Caller was Indian and began speaking in Hindi. FML. Totally deserved that one. Stuck to my usual voice after that. Picked up what I thought was an EpiPen trainer, pulled off the blue safety cap, and jokingly stabbed my wrist with an expired EPJR. At work, got to call my brand new supervisor and go to the local despite not holding the pen down long enough to get any drug, though I did graze the nerve below my thumb. Pretty sure I saw every PA that night and I hope it made for an entertaining story. The irony is that I'm on the safety team at work, and I'm now a prime example of what not to do. Asked a date if he knew my creepy algebra teacher that had his same last name. It was his dad. Not sure why I wouldn't assume close relation was actually possible even when asking the question. Totaled my car because I neglected checking my blind spot when changing lanes. Quite literally should have checked myself instead of wrecked myself. As a motorcyclist, check your fricking blind spot. Whenever I bike, I assume I can handle whatever the trail throws at me. Usually I can. Sometimes I frick myself up and deal with the injuries. Right now is one of those times. Threw a roll of paper towels at my mom when I was 15 and sassy. I was promptly laid the frick out on the living room floor and reminded that she brought me into this world, and she can take me out. Your mom is badass. Had to install a new water heater. Was doing everything properly and had reached the point where I attached the power wiring when I suddenly teleported backward several feet. Left arm was numb. I think the hair was that crinkly kind of somewhat singed. Turns out the bastard previous owners had mislabeled the circuit box. One of the closest shaves with death I have had. 220 volts is nothing to be lax about. I am now much more distrustful of all important labeling and switches until I have personally checked the state. Thinking back on the several near-death situations I have experienced, it's kind of funny to think that only one of them, hit by drunk driver, led to a trip to the hospital. The rest were just few. That was lucky. Multimeters are your friend. I consider it essential to any home. Jumped out of a 2-story window. Yes, I was drunk, making sure that I landed on a mattress so as to not get hurt. Kneed myself in the face hard enough to knock out 2 teeth and break my nose. As far as drunk stories go, this is bad, but it's definitely not the worst. 5/7. Choosing a ridiculously hard major and overloading my courses for a year. Developed an ulcer due to stress and got bad enough grades to have to take another year to be able to get into grad school. I was in a hurry to grab something from the back room in a store I was working in and climbed up on a chair to pull it down off the drawer. It was a rolling chair. I sustained minor damage from the impact and lost the respect of every co-worker who heard me yell. You weren't yelling, you were danger yodeling. I went into a construction site without proper boots, just to look around at the new condos. I fell through a deck that wasn't finished, in flip-flops. Did all the drugs, and then BSP, and then BSP. Almost died, more than once. 7 months sober in a week or so. Proud of you. Keep it up. I once had this really bitchy teacher when I was in grade school who made a comment about this pimple I had on my nose. I called her a bee under my breath and she heard and gave me after school detention. In your defense, making fun of a kid is a real B move. Had a teacher I just really didn't like. I found her very annoying and basically just thought I could give her a hard time with impunity. Mainly because the school was pretty hands off with discipline and all she ever did was get into screaming matches with us. At the end of the year she failed me despite me passing the tests. That same hands off who gives a crap culture of the school came back to bite me in that butt when they straight up didn't give a crap that I was arguing that I failed unfairly. So yeah, talked a bunch of crap to a teacher and paid the price. Summer school as a high school senior was pretty lame. I was haphazardly following someone on a motorcycle, thinking I could keep up with a better rider on a road I've never been on, and he knew much better. I managed to lose my back wheel and flip my bike into the mountain. Thank the gods it wasn't the other way off the mountain. There was enough space on the inside of the road to land in dirt and bushes. Other than a scuffed knee and elbow, no real road rash or broken anything. I would say that crash went way better than could possibly have been expected. I saw a shadow in my front yard and was quite drunk, so I assumed this was a trespasser or burglar. I go outside and yell to them that they need to get the frick off my property. My friends find this hilarious. I then proceed to headbutt said shadow, which was a cactus. That's been there since I bought the house. At this point my friends tried to help me remove the pricks from my face and head. I got mad because the burglar hadn't left, so I yelled that I'm getting my shotgun. At this point my friends shut down my party. TLDR. Thought I had a burglar in my yard, ended up headbutting a cactus. At least you have responsible friends. I was getting towed up a bridge during rush hour on my longboard. The guy started weaving around and I bailed. Not too bad. Road rash and saw. Got a 26 of JD and went to work. Went out longboarding after the 26. Dropped 4 hits of acid. Pee on the convenience store door cause they won't let me use the washroom, and then promptly fell on my upper lip. Put teeth through my lip, and had to get 30 or so stitches putting my face back together. On 4 hits of acid. Guess you shouldn't have tripped. One time I sent an unsolicited dong pic. Half my graduating class got it. I wasn't embarrassed at all. I looked good. But looking back on it I was a total creep for sending it at all. Your confidence is inspiring. Making out with GF in school hall. Heard someone say get a room. Flipped them off without looking. Assuming classmate. Heard gasps. Vice principal with crowd of teachers. You know how they always tell you to keep your eyes on the road? Well, as a child I must not have gotten the memo. I was on my bicycle. My friends were chasing me on a sidewalk. I think it was cops and robbers, I dunno, and I hit some mystery item. Promptly proceeded to go over my handlebars, then bust my chin open on the sidewalk bad enough it needs stitches. Weirdly enough, that didn't deter me from continuing to do stupid crap. Riding all my stuff without a helmet, playing with fire, going through dangerous woods, stealing my mom's pee, and I even decided to find out what a paintball tastes like. Not the brightest kid as a child. I am a much more cautious person these days. Stealing my mom's pee. What? Downhill skiing around 9 in the morning. Groomed runs were still ice, so I was going about as fast as I ever had straight down an empty run toward a long traverse. I saw some ice chunks up ahead but neglected to speed check. Before I knew it, I was sliding on my back. By the time I stopped, my skis were over 100 meters behind me with solid headache. Thank God for helmets. That ice would have killed me. I had been eating a lot of hummus that fateful day, was in the small supply closet at work to get something, let out a major fart, a real stinker. As I left, my boss went in after me, into a dungeon of fart. Accidentally sent a nude of me licking my own nipple to my best friend instead of my boyfriend. Thank God it got sent to her instead of someone else, though. I didn't look too closely at a buddy's new bike before giving it a test ride. As soon as I touched the front brake, the pad meeting the disc became the wheel's new center of rotation, pulling the axle out of the fork and sending me over the handlebars a fraction of a second later when the fork hit the ground. I sprained my knee pretty badly. Tried to show off by getting on a horse unprepared with no saddle and no helmet. Landed on the horse's rump and he immediately tossed me off. I have a friend who has a sister. I mistook her for their mother. Twice. On a good note, she changed her hairstyle and last time I saw she looked great. Birthday in the UK. First one. I was being served whiskey shots by whoever decided to stay back for the night on our pub crawl after food. I ended up having 13 shots. Walked a km with my friends at the end of the night. Collapsed. Woke up next morning, stripped to my knees and lying covered in a duvet next to a toilet. I squirmed. I was at a female friend's house with 3 other female flatmates. Glorious next day conversation. Wow, that's a pretty intense first birthday. So I was at the subway with a friend of mine who's 18 and her boyfriend who was 9 years or so older than her. My friend and I were talking about a new show which was just released. Not thinking twice I said, well, the actor is like 10 years older than the girl he's married in the show, which looks sorta awful. Later I realized what a frick up I've done and blushed the whole way home. Kids my age used to joke about this. I don't anymore. Please don't hate me. I was talking to a friend's girlfriend over text. She was on his Skype cause they were together at the time, so both were talking to me. I said something stupid like my C stinks. And she said, well, talk to your mum about it, and I replied, she's dead. That's when she said, haha, mine too. I was kidding. Sorry, I wasn't. Whoops. To be more literal, I forgot to check the torque on some bolts on my bike when I tightened them up. Broke my collarbone the next day. I didn't believe that having several doses of Advil liquid gels and half a bottle of scotch would be a big deal. 4 hours later, I ignore the fact that my bowel movements are basically all blood. 8 hours after that, I ignore the nurse I called, who told me to take my bleeding butt to the emergency room. 2 hours after that, I'm at home, eating lunch, having left work to take myself to the emergency room. 1 hour after that, I check into the air. 15 minutes after that, I pass out in the waiting room from blood loss. 2 liters down. Blood pressure is roughly 60/30. Made the mistake of making a tasteless joke on a post about a cop beating up a teenager. All the high horse knights did not find it amusing. Was at Camp Jackson and went off the rope bridge exercise and fell down a hill. The rope bridge was at the top of a hill, so I flew off and rolled down. They at least gave me an award for it. Make sure you check yourself before you wreck yourself. Was texting one friend my opinion of someone, and without realizing I typed in the person's name I was talking about and sent it to them. More like I didn't shut the frick up one time about something, and because of it, I wrecked a 9-year relationship between 2 families. They insist it wasn't me, but I know if I had just not said it in the first place, everyone would still be getting along. Now there is a feud where everyone hates each other. I wanna die because of how freaking stupid I am. Testicular torsion. A cyst on my testicle I had noticed and hoped would go away ended up twisting, causing my right testicle to swell to roughly 5 times bigger. I wanted to, but I am a very small lady and was very awkward in my freshman year, so I just walked away and tried to not explode. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.